start our meeting.
My boss and I used to do that.
6 o'clock, this is the Plan Implementation Committee. It's a special meeting, September 7th, 2022. For everybody's benefit, we'll just go over and have introduction. I'm Dimple Desai, I'm the Chair of Planning and Zoning.
I'm Melissa Hicks. I'm the Director of Human Services for the town here.
I'm Saima Kausar, and I'll say public.
Steve Soblak, I'm the Director of Public Works and Community Development.
Chris Zarelli, Planning and Zoning, Vice Chair, I guess.
Eileen Neff, Recording Secretary.
Kim Ritchie, Tom Banner, I also assist with zoning enforcement.
Sandy Kelly in the wetlands farmland acquisition.
Ed Ciccarello, Parks and Rec, I think.
Eric Kalin, Sustainable Rocky Hill. Hey.
Ray Carpentino, Economic Development Director.
David Sergi, part of the community.
Mary Beth Milicio, community.
Alan Bagley, a member of the community.
Right, thank you all for coming. I think just for the background, the PIC committee has been established by our planning POCD as a advisory committee. So what we do is we have 2 members from planning and zoning, I think 2 or 1 member from wetlands, right?
I think it's one and
We used to have
We got-
2, but
correct.
Marnie is moved, I believe, so.
And then we have some other members as assigned by POCD. And then we have, So what we do is we go through certain items that we would like to address as part of our planning and zoning, like overall zoning. And some of the topics, I guess, you all have been involved with. I think there's also Connecticut, local sustainable community or something, right?
Sustainable CC?
Sustainable city.
Yep.
And I think you guys have taken up some of the items as well. So why don't we go through second item on the agenda is public comment. Anyone in the public who would like to address in general?
Just
Yeah.
a broad question. How often do you meet? When's the last time you met?
So we meet quarterly. We had a break in between. I think it was January.
I would call this a reconstitution meeting. How's that? For honesty, okay?
I appreciate the honesty.
A reconstitution meeting. Our next meeting is going to be October 5th.
last one looks like it was March 16th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have something wrote so I would remember it. I want to say hello to this Plan Implementation Committee. I've only known about sustainability and the POCD for the past couple of months. I read the article, I read them on the website. It was really nice to have access to that. Not incomplete, I skipped it. But I was very impressed and I thought it was very ambitious. As a matter of fact, the POCD was published in 2015 and the Sustainable Connecticut document was published in 2016. So I thought, wow, you incorporated all these things the year before that came out. And then subsequent to that, I think a couple of years, came a document called Sustainable Rocky Hill. Elise Holder, is that the person who wrote that one? I think. What was her name? I don't know who she is, but it was, have you seen that document?
Yeah, I don't know the name.
Yeah,
I'm not.
I thought that was who was on that, but, and that's where they articulated the sustainable, the Plan Implementation Committee and listed all the members. And also, later I read that, I think it was 2021 when they made the PIC also be the Sustainable Task Force, like at that time. But then COVID hit, right? I think maybe we should kind of consider the fact that that put the brakes on for a lot of things, and also with your committee, I assume. And I saw there's about 13 general areas of improvement for the town, like more bike trails, more connecting sidewalks, pollinator pathways, and so forth. But the topic that particularly interests me is is in number 9, materials management, or better known as reducing our trash by providing a curbside food scrap collection option in town. Friends of mine had told me about a company called Blue Earth, which is a private company that offers this service for $30 a month in many of the surrounding towns. And I was ready to pay for that because I think it's a great idea. And they also offer to give you back some of the compost that is created from all the food scraps. But then I saw that the town of Rocky Hill applied for a grant that would make the service free here in Rocky Hill to anyone who's interested in participating. So I thought, well, that sounds even better. So we were awarded that grant, and all we need to do is have town council accept it, and we get $737,000 to implement it. Many people don't know about it. I'm finding in my neighborhood, it's a pilot program to see if we can reduce the amount of trash we send to the landfill now that they're all being closed. And by reducing the trash haul there, we'll save money because trash hauling is charged by the pound, or actually by the ton. Separating out food scraps reduces the weight of our trash by what I hear 40%, reducing our tax burden by almost $300,000 a year. So I think that's such a win-win. The pilot program will help us to see if this really happens. I mean, why not do it for a year, see if it works, accept the grant, and do it for free. I hope this committee will implement this curbside food scrap collection for people like me who like the ease of putting food scraps in a bag on the curb rather than in my backyard, and so that the hauler can pick it up and bring it to the people who will turn it into compost. I hope that you will lead the way as implementers, this plan has been in place for 7 years if you go back to the POCD, 2015, and we're closer than ever to making this happen. If you lead, there are volunteers who will follow among us. They're among us even now. Please support this effort. Citizens need to lobby town councilors to move forward. They have to accept it. And then volunteers like me and members of the PIC will help to educate the residents and we'll all benefit. So please support and implement this plan.
Thank you. I'll just note a couple of things. The Sustainable Task Force has not been set yet, right? PIC is not automatically designated as the task force. So council, I believe, is working on setting up the task force. If I'm not
Yeah, back in 2001, it was established.
Right.
But
That's
it's
changing.
proposed to be changed by
Yeah.
town council.
Yeah, it was established then, it was in the document.
Right.
Or in the minutes to that meeting.
Yeah, 2001.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the town council will probably.
21,
Yeah, that's on the-
2021.
21.
21, what's
Yeah.
that?
2001.
Clarification.
Yeah.
Math is not my.
He's tired, it's okay.
But yeah, it definitely.
Sorry, 2021, February.
So I just wanted to clarify that. And the other thing I want to clarify is PIC, as I said before, is an advisory committee. We discuss the topics and we will recommend to council for appropriate, for appropriate action. So that's the role that PIC has. So it's,
Well, because we can't do anything to
Yeah.
implement it until, you and the town council make it
Yep.
happen. And that's what I'm looking for.
Yep. So I think, thanks for the comments. I think those were good comments. What we'll do is we'll just, we touch base sustainability task force. I don't know if you, Kim, you had any other items?
Well, I know under that, at one of the more recent council meetings, they did have the town attorney put forth a resolution, and I know they tabled action on that, but they did discuss it at a town council meeting.
Yep.
And that's being worked on by,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
that motion is gonna be modified
Okay.
quite a bit. I hope.
Okay. So it's in works. Hopefully we'll have the task force soon. And I believe they were planning for having members from the public, right? I think that's what they were trying to do. But I'll leave it up, at that. council is working on.
And I do believe there are people like Mary Beth, maybe Derek, that can maybe talk about some of the volunteer efforts concerning this, because I know Congregational Church has a group as well that are dealing with this as well, so. if you want.
Yeah, I'd love to say a few words on that if I can.
Yep.
So, hey, Derek Kalin. I'm here as a part of Sustainable Rocky Hill, and Kim, as you were saying, there are a few members in the audience, Alan, Mary Beth, Saima, and then of course we're fortunate enough to have Ed and Sandy also participating in our meetings as well. So we have been organizing around this concept of sustainable CT. It's a framework produced by a nonprofit that has been advising municipalities across the state on different ways that they can be ecologically and economically and culturally sustainable. So if you go to that website, you'll see a list of 13 actions with a bunch of sub-actions. And the actions, it's pretty broad. Like it ranges from complete streets, so I can't tell you how excited I was to see this sheet of paper when I walked in, to things like sustainable waste management, as Mary Beth was talking about, to dark skies, to any number of issues that have to do with sustainability. So our hope is to be an ally to you folks in your own efforts where the Plan of Conservation and Development and the PIC purview overlaps with this concept of sustainability as reflected in sustainable CT. Our vision is to mobilize broad swaths of the town to get engaged on these issues so that we have a diverse range of voices advocating for sustainability and participating in the conversation. So to the extent that that sort of exchange would be helpful, we would love to be supportive of the efforts that you guys are doing. And so that's why I'm here, and I don't presume to speak on behalf of my colleagues, but that's what I'm looking for. I'm hoping that we can find areas of overlap where we could work together.
Right. Yeah, and the other mission of this PIC is to look at different aspects and see what are the low-hanging fruits and which can be addressed. And low-hanging fruit meaning, it can be done quickly without spending a lot of money, because again, for money we have to get approvals and stuff like that. So I think that's the goal, is to come up with items that can be addressed, fairly easily, and then also discuss. There might be some items like here there might be long range, and you keep on discussing, and hopefully things will come up and funding will come up, and you can address those issues. So those are the two wheels that we have and we focus on. So.
Dimple, if I may, I know that Derek did contact us in our office, and Dave Palmer, my assistant, did send out some regulations that we had back in 2000.
Thanks. This is
Give
the
it
dark
to it
skies.
again. We have regulations concerning lighting, the Connecticut, the building code, which is more of an nationwide
IBC,
building code.
international.
Yeah, has full cutoff as required for lighting fixtures. We also have in our regulations, which took effect in 2017, we talked about pedestrian access and bike access and bike accessories, racks and types of things like that. So we're working on it as far as that type of thing goes. You should be aware, and everybody in the room should be aware, that the Plan of Conservation and Development deals with more than just sustainable CT. Just so everyone here is aware, and I know not everybody will be all gung-ho on all the topics, but we have to be talking about other things. We have to be talking about economic development, about business growth, business retention. We have to be talking about, like we hear here, complete streets. We need to be talking about open space planning, affordable housing, which is huge right now. So we have to be talking about everything in here, and the POCD will be updated eventually, and once again, some of these items will still be there because there's still concerns for every municipality. So keep that in mind. We're here as a broad, diverse group of individuals coming at it from different areas of expertise, and we may be discussing some things that have nothing to do with why you're here, but you have input and you have value, and we're glad you're here to help us out, so. Make sure people know it's more than just, sure.
Right, and,
That's part of it,
right.
because that's in our POCD too, so.
And if I could just note, like, totally noted,
Yeah.
POCD and sustainable CT, it is not a one-to-one overlap, right? It's a Venn
Right.
diagram.
Yeah.
I will say that we are very enthusiastic about the things that you listed around supporting the homeless population, supporting local economies. Those are actually reflected in the sustainable CT framework, so happy to support there as well.
All right. The complete streets update on that.
Dimple, I don't know if other people from the public wanted to speak.
Yeah, because I do gotta go.
On the volunteer efforts, is that?
Are you guys up to complete streets? That's my.
No, we're
It's
getting
part
there.
of public comment.
No,
Should be-
public-
It should have been part of public comment.
This
By all
is
means.
informal.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
very
it's
informal,
informal.
so
Okay,
by all
just
means.
a
Go
second.
for it.
You know, I saw online, that there was kind of some talk about connectivity, sidewalks, and I can't get a clear answer. I'm relatively new to Rocky Hill. The underpass on 91,
Mhm.
where we're putting a new lovely steakhouse. I know it's a state road, Silas D, da, da, da. What's the history? Does the state, is that a priority for the state? I know the city can't do nothing. It's a hot mess, to say the least. It doesn't connect. Has the state ever expressed any interest in fixing the hot mess?
Here's the simple
What's the
answer
end
from
game?
DOT. We don't build sidewalks. So it'd be up to the town to build the sidewalk. I cannot, in good conscience, put a sidewalk there because you have a ramp that comes off on a curve, it's a slip, around, and people come flying off that. So if we put a sidewalk that says, please walk here with handicap and all that, and somebody's in that crosswalk and gets clipped, it's a
I know. It's
bad idea. Right now, there's a dirt path. We're not saying walk there. We're not promoting it. So if somebody gets hit, it's at their own risk. As soon as we put that sidewalk in the crosswalk, we're saying it's safe to walk, and it's not.
You know, I think
Is this West
So-
Street?
Which side?
This would be 91 at exit 24 by
Between Wooden Tap and
Yeah.
correct.
out.
And
Yes.
now we want to build a new
Yeah.
steakhouse.
So-
There's a lot of land across the street. We're gonna.
So-
It's only going to get worse before it gets better with new development there. As a driver, first of all, I don't bike. I don't really walk. I work, but I really don't leave my house for it. I drive my kid to daycare. The issue is there's more and more people darting in that area.
Yes.
Lovely state representative like them all. I get wishy-washy answers on the state level
Yeah.
as well.
So-
And I just think we have to bring them to the table on a city level. Heck, we have people on the city council right now running for state office. Let's
We-
put them on the hot seat
So
and
we-
say, what's the deal?
We've talked to the DOT. We actually met about that intersection before COVID. They put out feelers and, hey, what are some intersections you'd like to see things done to? And we've asked them to tee it up and have a traffic light, and then you have to take a right on red, and then COVID hit, and that's as far as it went.
You know,
But-
it just, it needs the
I
full
think he
works.
has
Just, you know,
Yeah.
with that said, Steve said, engineer, very technical, very, the law is the law. However, we are starting to look at that. You're right, people are walking under the bridge, and they're still gonna be there anyways, whether we put sidewalks there or not. At least if we try to make it safer. There may be money, there may not be, but it's gonna be multi-million dollars. Well, you know,
Walking on the east side.
I watch the news.
That
and you
would
see-
be better, on the
You watch
east
the
side,
news, you
not
see
the west
infrastructure,
side.
infrastructure. I drive other
Go to the east
cities,
side, the Texas
they got,
side,
on state
Yeah.
roads,
Not the
they got
outside.
bulldozers everywhere on
Yeah,
state
they go
roads.
east
Bring
and
it
west.
here. I'm not
No,
saying
east
city
and
money.
west.
It's a state road. The state's gotta do their part. Bring the money, show me the money. Get the grant.
It's not that easy, but
Best
we're
way to
also
do it
not
is get rid of
cities.
it.
A lot of these cities
Come to
are,
a T and then get rid of
they
all
get
that.
money we can't get
Plant flowers.
because we don't have the same demographics.
I think we have a very talented mayor. I like her a lot. I think you're all very talented, truthfully. I just think the state's not doing right by Rocky Hill in that intersection. So I think maybe we just have to
I think what we'll do is we'll talk to Mayor, see if, and see if there is an appetite, at least we can start the conversation and see where he ends up.
As a driver, somebody's gonna get hurt one day. Yeah, you can talk about, somebody on this board should be from law enforcement. I'm sure the police see this all the time. And if it's illegal for people to cross there, then they gotta enforce it. If people are jaywalking, which they are, they gotta write the tickets.
There's
What
a
do I care?
crosswalk on the other side of the.
Well, they're darting across Silastina, because it's almost like the game Frogger. They don't know how to navigate that area. So they dart across every which way, and it's only gonna get worse. If a lot of land across the streets, where they're gonna put a hotel there, do whatever you want. It's just the problem is only gonna accelerate.
If you have a crosswalk in the area of Marshall Road or even Water Chase, and then have a sidewalk on the east side of the side.
Tomato Joe's side, I don't know.
No, on the opposite side.
The opposite.
Only because if you have it on the side with the ramp, there's, I can't tell you the number of accidents as you coming off the ramp and rear-ending the people, slowing down, trying to merge into
No,
traffic.
I don't know the solution, that's why I'm here. I really don't,
Yeah,
I'm
it's-
far from an engineer.
that's-
It's
I just know
dangerous.
it's a hot mess.
It's dangerous there.
But we are looking at it, we've
Yeah.
had discussions before.
You're the best. I think everything else is great. I got a kid, I know, 2 kids.
Everything else.
All right.
Okay.
You're the
Good
best,
luck.
love you all. Keep up the good work, everything else is wonderful.
We'll see the kid.
Thank
Nice to
you.
meet you.
Thank you.
I'll be back.
Yep.
Thank you.
4A, bikeways.
Still, I don't know if Simon, you want it? Still another member of the public, I don't know if you wanted it.
I'm just, whatever he said.
Yes, that's
What he said.
No, so, I mean, again, I think what we are saying is, if you have something as a public, then just let me know, raise your hand, otherwise I'm just going down, because we want to make sure we cover our agenda, so, if anyone in the public, all right, 4A.
Say last call.
Why don't we just start with complete streets in general, and
Yep.
Kim and I have cobbled together a
Okay.
draft, I think it's 4 pages.
Did you want to?
Did
I know
everybody get a
we
copy?
gave it to you, there's just no
So we
tweaks.
modified
I
it.
read it,
This is different.
Okay,
it looks too
it's just
complicated.
slightly different.
So,
I just wanna let, some people know that signs are being manufactured for Share the Road.
Love you, Ray.
Really?
No kidding.
You're elected.
Department.
Thanks, Ray.
Whatever you need.
All right, so now, Ed doesn't have anything to talk now.
we'll get into that. So,
See, you have it.
I think we should even.
do you want to give people a minute to read it, or
Yeah,
just
give
kind of
the
go,
people-
why don't we just give them a
Yeah.
broad brush?
Give us a
5
thumbnail
minutes.
sketch about it.
Well, Complete Streets, I think we all know what it is, but, for a policy, it's recommended that there's these 10 bullet points you see at the bottom, and you have a blurb about each, and it's pretty general. Most of it's pretty general, and then at the end, you have the implementation and the performance measurements, so that's where you'll see, what's happening. We used,
Did you guys get this?
we used examples from many towns,
That's what we're talking about.
award-winning, complete streets. So this is where we got a lot of our ideas from. You have the vision, the diverse users, something, lost a letter there, commitment in all project phases, the exceptions, jurisdiction, coordination, design
Starting in
guidance.
Weathersfield right now, and Wookett? Is this what they're starting in Weathersfield right now? and
Weathersfield,
Wookett?
they all have the policies that have
Everybody
been,
has.
so the policy has to go to the town council, and they have to accept it.
Mhm.
So this is a draft for you folks to look at. You can look at it, make comments, get it back to us, I guess, right?
Yeah, the town, in talking to Ray Carpentino, if you would like the town council to at least take a crack at it sometime in October. The thing is, what we're trying to do is, Complete Streets is for all. All
Yes.
modes of transportation, all abilities of people, pedestrians, and priority here is safety first, obviously.
Mhm.
And there's different, so one of the sections that we wanted to discuss was exceptions, but let me go, before I talk about that, the goal is to have a policy in place And when there's a project on a street, whether it be building a new road, repairing an existing road, what have you, that we turn to this policy to see what we can do to tweak the road to be inclusionary as best we can, with keeping in mind safety first for all, and in compliance with the policy. So,
Kim, is this an ordinance? Is this a part of the zoning regulations?
Policy.
What is,
It's just a
It's
policy.
it's just a policy? All right.
That's adopted by the town, yes.
yeah.
But does it have to go through P and Z, I guess maybe is the question?
No, I'm just wondering, if an applicant is before planning and zoning or any commission,
Right.
is this considered, or is it considered as staff comments?
This is something that we would use.
So it's a,
This
okay,
is
so
something
Yes.
that
it's on the
we
staff
would
level,
use.
okay.
Yeah.
but,
This
uh,
is a policy, and we
but
can
So-
the
add,
council-
Yeah.
during P and Z,
Yeah.
we can get into
Yeah.
these aspects.
Yeah.
So if you look at item 5, jurisdiction and coordination, this complete street policy shall apply to all town streets and land within public right-of-ways. All new private development projects which propose improvements within public right-of-ways shall comply with this complete street policy. Private development projects proposing privately owned right-of-ways shall be reviewed for consistency with complete street policies.
Great.
So you're looking at somebody building, I mean, we don't have a ton of land anymore, but let's just say they were building the Oaks today, and the Oaks has private roads. We would review that to see if it complied with the policy.
Yeah, make sure you
Make sure it's
have
inclusionary, and,
Yep.
I mean, the policy doesn't spell out
handicap
the items.
accessible ramps.
But can it be
within the road.
retrospective? Can you just go like street by street and say, we want to start looking at this?
Not private.
No, but
Not private.
when we resurface roads or touch any road, we do have some things we have to do.
There you go.
Like
Yes.
we bring, but that's what the policy says, we
Okay.
have to do.
Yeah.
But like we've been doing for the last 15 years,
We've been doing-
bringing up all the handicap ramps to ADA compliance, or trying to.
Mm-hmm.
That's law.
It's a given.
Um,
Talking about the ends of the streets, like. where
Yep.
it's
Yeah.
old.
Yeah.
Yep, yep.
I've seen it around Century Hills now, they're putting that, just the corner in.
The detectable warning strips and all that's all, that's all ADA that's
Even
been.
though there's no sidewalk in between.
Well,
but
they're
the
studying, they're doing the
corners.
sidewalks.
Well, we're
they're
doing
working on
some,
that
well,
now.
we did at the corner of one end of Century Hills Drive, not the other though. Put a pedestrian island across Cold Spring Road. I don't know if that's what you're talking about or not.
Yeah, I haven't seen the island, but just the the curves are now the new curves that are just roll right where that restaurant is, like in front of that restaurant there. We did that there. 'Cause
Well, that's probably themselves.
they're also putting in, sewer.
We're doing all new catch basins, yeah, but we didn't do anything with curbs yet that I know of.
No, I don't know who's doing that, and maybe the condos themselves would do it.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
But they also did it at the end of France Street where it meets Route 3. They just put new corner curbs in there.
That was a while ago,
Or
but
they
yeah,
But
yeah.
they just repaved it, I guess.
Yeah, we did the little strip of pavement there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that does get, it's pretty walkable now on Route 3 to
Yeah.
restaurants, to, especially off France Street. What's not complete is France Street.
Well, and that's an issue. But that, again, that goes back to the complete streets, and we've been doing much of this as long as I've been here, or a lot of it. Maybe not so much the bikeways, but the walkability. I mean, I've shown Derek our list of sidewalks we've done in the last 20 years. We probably doubled the amount of sidewalks we have in town.
Didn't we get money from the federal government for this kind of thing too?
Sidewalks, no.
I
Not-
know
not-
For walkability, to reduce the carbon footprint and get people walking.
Nothing's been given to us. It's all grants you have to apply for. And most of these grants, they want 2 and 3 towns to go in together. I mean, he was talking about all the money that they have, but it's not as simple as just, hey, you have to apply, you have to compete against the other towns and municipalities, and you have to meet certain criteria.
Can you talk about the Silestine sidewalk treatments and how those differ from other sidewalks? What was the funding there?
That was funding. That was a grant for a streetscape.
Sort of bespoke sidewalks, right? They're not just walkable sidewalks, they're decorative sidewalks.
Yeah, it's called streetscape. It is
Okay.
decorative. They did the lighting, the plantings, everything. Yeah.
Most people would just like a level surface. It's great to have the streetscape, but in most cases,
It's a
where there's no
sidewalk.
sidewalk, a sidewalk would be preferable to nothing.
Correct, and Kim can speak to the sidewalks over the years, but there's areas where there's supposed to be sidewalks built, and they come to planning and zoning and they're waived, like Century Hills, 1.25 miles, it's 7,000 feet
Not
around.
anymore.
We don't know about that. That
Well,
was
we don't
back
know
in the
about that.
70s.
7,000 feet
Yeah, that was the
around.
70s.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly, 7,700 feet around Century Hills. We're
Elementary
supposed to have
school.
sidewalks,
I
never
walked on
built.
sidewalks.
Now, we're looking at grants and everything for, it's about $1 million project to go around that loop with sidewalks.
You can't have them do it even though they.
Not anymore.
Not
The
after
on-
the fact.
Yeah, the only way that it can be done on a level, if someone comes in and reapplies
something.
for,
Something.
like they wanna do a change
Addition
or something.
or something.
Yeah.
If they wanna do addition, you know,
And
if
then-
they are renovating, we can do it.
Okay.
It has to be something.
It's kinda like double jeopardy. in the
Yeah,
criminal
Yeah.
system.
but we don't have the power to tell them that they
Yeah.
can do it
Yep.
until we
Yeah.
get these
Until you
sweet
have an
sidewalk ordinance
application.
that we
But
want.
even
Yeah.
if we got grants to do it, who would maintain it?
It would be
It's the abutting
like the
property
abutting
owner.
property owners have to maintain. We do the repairs, but the daily cleaning of it,
Like snow maintenance?
snow
the
removal
abutting
is the
property.
abutting property owner.
Yep.
Once upon a time, they used to have to go, was it to the town council
For what?
to build sidewalks, and they had it changed in the early 2000s, late 99, because we had plans to do sidewalks a bunch of different places, and the citizens came out and said, I don't want them because I don't have to shovel them, like
Right.
Old Main Street.
Right.
So it went away. They had the money and the plans, and it went away because the residents came and said, no, we don't want it because we don't have to maintain it. And that's why a lot of them were never built also, you know, the after the fact, you know, on an old road like that. It was in place, the design was done. And then they changed the policy in the early 2000s, they'd say,
Now, with new residential subdivisions, the Planning and Zoning Commission requires sidewalk on at least one side of the road. So, they don't have to have them on both sides, they can waive them on one side, and they typically have,
Right.
but typically you have sidewalk on one side of the road.
May I input, however, I've seen this a lot. They do something instead and they get absolved of putting a sidewalk in. And that's really, excuse me, let me finish.
Yep.
That's really, I say heartbreaking, because sidewalks are so critical for us. And if they're, it's in the regs that they're supposed to put that however many feet, and then they offer something else, and typically, planning and zoning will say, okay. And I just have to say, I find that distressing.
Yeah, they've had a-
So,
they've
so
had a
let me
few-
say, there might be one instance, just one, where it was waived, I mean, and there was no mechanism to collect the money. Otherwise,
Planning and zoning doesn't have the power to enforce.
Right.
Other than a subdivision.
right,
We're trying to get that power through an ordinance.
no, but there was one instance
Yeah,
where
on-
we could
on
have
dividend.
done,
Yeah.
but we didn't have,
Because
Sidewalk
it
to
was a
nowhere, yeah.
commercial,
Right.
it was a
But you-
commercial entity.
You had to approve their exemption. That's your mechanism.
yeah.
You don't approve it, period.
We don't have the power, to say that other than the subdivision.
The,
And Planning and zoning commission.
In a subdivision, then that's by town ordinance.
Yeah.
That they have a
And it's-
sidewalk.
And we're trying to get
And
change.
it's by town ordinance. You can do that with a residential subdivision.
You can do which?
You can waive
Waive.
it and have the money go to a fund.
yes.
But why?
But
Why
only-
would you want to
only
do that?
money on
if-
that. Now, they've done that in 2 instances that I'm aware of. One was for one lot re-subdivision.
Yeah, it's like it's not a big with a road.
It's like the width of one lot.
I seem to remember something on Cromwell Avenue just recently. I mean, I seem to
Cromwell
remember
Avenue?
this. Things, I've been on inland wetlands for a long
Yeah,
time, and then, you know, the different projects.
I don't remember Cromwell
I can
Avenue.
remember
I do
I've
not.
done, because it comes to me for the
Yeah.
pricing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I
There
can,
were
it's
two
either
on-
2
two
or
on
3 I can
Fran
think
Street,
of.
I
2 on
know
Fran
of.
Street,
Yeah.
yep.
And they were like one lot each.
Yeah, 'cause what happens is you have
So
an
it's
acre
like
lot, they
100.
get, and it's a half-acre zone, they cut it in half, boom. Doesn't make sense to put 100 feet of sidewalk. Or they put the money in, and we can use it somewhere else on a larger stretch.
Did they put, and, well, what, is there a particular fund that goes into, or is it going to
There
general
is now.
fund?
There is no.
There is now. Okay, I don't want to hijack the meeting, but when it comes to these sidewalks and the discussion and waiving them,
I think your
that's
passion is the planning and zoning
We
passion
are
too.
saying,
I mean,
saying.
we do it ad nauseum.
Yes.
wonderful.
Literally hold
We
meetings for
discussed-
hours
I learned
trying to
that.
get sidewalks
Yep.
from developers.
Yeah.
So so we spent time evaluating, discussing. Is there a suggestion? is
We're
there a
trying to get
next-
an ordinance.
Is there a next step?
We need to get an
And-
ordinance.
Let me finish. Is there a next step, and will that be reflected in any of minutes that comes from this committee? Because right now, I don't see any minutes online. So what I'm looking for from this committee is a history, so that when I go online and I type in PIC committee, I say, okay, we suggested sidewalks, we evaluated with all the great minds here, what's the next step?
So as far as the sidewalks and what Victor is talking about, it's already in the works and we are already behind it, and we have to change the ordinance so that we have created a separate account, right? And I think it has to say, there was some language issue, and we have to amend the language to.
Because the language of the ordinance talks about subdivisions and it's residential.
Right.
So,
We want it to be more than that. We want it
Yes.
to be
Any site plan.
Commercial.
Any site plan
any-
application.
any land
Right.
use application.
so
And
my,
we want it to be for commercial as well.
Yeah.
so my second part was, I read the responsibilities and the roles of the PIC committee, and I know it's great to have this discussion, but as you said, we're an advisory committee, so I go back to the minutes. Will this be reflected somewhere, and will we have minutes?
Well, if you recall, the attorney was here last time, he said, we don't do minutes, but you can have
We need them.
just
Notes.
notes,
Notes.
working notes.
Yeah.
Notes.
But we need a record of some sort.
There'll be
whatever you
notes.
wanna
There'll be
call it.
notes.
There'll be working notes, yep.
I
So
know,
tho-
Eileen's here, so I know we're getting working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those will be
So this is-
online then? When I go to the town website,
Yep.
I will see those?
Yep.
Okay, because I just wanted to tell
No,
you,
I know, I did the same thing.
right now, in
There's nothing.
2021, we had four
There's nothing,
meetings,
yeah.
and we had Zoom recordings for them. But my question would be, are Zoom recordings in lieu of the working notes? I don't want to sit for an hour or two
Listening to us.
listening to everything.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a sort of a
Yeah, and then
process
that-
question.
Yes, there'll be working notes. You know, we can put
Okay.
out the working notes.
Okay, great.
While we're on sidewalks, I have a quick, maybe you could use this as an example, because it's so close to where we're sitting, Laura Lane,
Mhm.
Old Main Street, Washington, Laura Lane. There's a fairly new sidewalk there, maybe just a test case, how is that?
Laura Lane, that was a replacement of one that was there. There was
And-
one
and
there, and they
so was
replaced
that
it.
required by some mechanism to replace it? I only bring that up because I walked by, here's a new sidewalk.
Yeah, because it was, disintegrated and hazardous, so we replaced it.
Town replaced it,
Yes. We're responsible for the sidewalk maintenance
gotcha.
physically to replace broken slabs or replace,
Okay.
we've basically done away with all asphalt sidewalks. There's maybe one or two pieces left here and there. But that was in such poor condition, I'd like them to go the whole length.
That's, okay, to me, it looked like a brand new sidewalk, so I thought it might be a good test.
It is,
case.
it is not, it's a brand new sidewalk.
But
We do have in our fund to do Washington Street, but, did not let me do it,
They-
finance.
It has anything to do with the homeowners?
No.
No, disrespect,
So,
no disrespect to their
again,
point of
we
view.
go back to where we were before, where the process used to be they'd hold a public hearing, and the homeowner comes and said, we don't want it because we don't have to shovel. And he did away with that, so I can go anywhere I want, basically, except state roads, and I have to work with the state, put a sidewalk, give them fair notice and all that.
Yep.
It's just right now, the money's there, and I said, let me let me bid it, and I was told no.
I
No
just don't understand, like, where's the greater good here, you know?
I can't answer that, I was told no.
The reason I think maybe that's what you're getting to is that there's Hartford Current is picking up quotes from the mayor saying we're gonna go down the river from Ames.
Well, we're studying that, we have a consultant studying.
So can we get back to agenda? I think we
Yeah.
will discuss that portion that you're
Yep.
talking about, the connection, so, because we're
Well,
just going.
Well, we're on
It's
sidewalks.
kind of all.
Yeah,
We're
so-
kind of on
so-
sidewalks,
It's kind
we
of all
skip bike.
together.
Yeah, so we are on sidewalks, and
Yep.
I know at our last meeting, we had talked about the study
Mhm.
on the triangle for connection
Mhm.
and having the, putting the sidewalks. So can you update that and hopefully, it will address
So-
what we're talking about?
So we have a study, VL companies are doing survey out on Glastonbury Ave to run sidewalks from, more or less, we're gonna say the center of town here, there's a little bit of sidewalk already, east to a little bit past Washington Street, to Washington Street, and then the Foundry, if and when that ever gets built, is gonna complete the sidewalks because on their property, they're gonna give us an easement. Otherwise, we have nowhere to put it past Washington.
Gotcha.
But the purpose of the survey is to determine if we can even do this. Because that is what they call it. It's a two-rod road. That's a measurement. A rod's 16.5 feet. So the right of way is only 33 feet. The pavement out there is somewhere in between, depending where you are, 24 to 28 feet wide. You might not have the right of way. So do we need easements? Do we need grading rights? It's not as simple as just throwing it out there on that road.
Like on private property?
Yes.
And it's a state road, so we'll have to work with
And it's a
state.
state road, so I have to work with the state.
So
So-
it's pie in the sky, it happens.
If that happens,
Let's just say it happens, you're saying it stops at Washington, and then Foundry takes care of this chunk.
It
And
does,
then
well,
what about-
we might go a little further depending where their property line is.
River
It's a little
Road.
bit back. Now the property line comes, that parking lot that's there is the Foundries.
Okay, so then you jump over there, and then when you
Yep.
get to Meadow, what happens? Is there?
It stops, there's no right of way
There is
anywhere.
no way.
Right
we
now
have a
that-
sidewalk. It's very, the
train
houses are
station
right
that's
up
there is almost onto up into the right of way.
The only reason I say, I push back on that is that I had Frontier come to my property and they had their 10 feet that they could do what they pleased with.
That's your road.
Different there?
Yes.
Wow.
Every
Is that
road's
just based
different.
on zoning?
Nope, it's what the right of way is. I mean, those right of ways have been around for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And that map that we're going by is from the 1930s.
Okay.
And the state owns 33 feet wide. That's it there.
And Esther Road's
For
about 20, 25.
Esther Road it's 50-foot right away. And then,
No, I meant you.
oh, I don't know. And then Riverview is at least a 50-foot, because that's an old state road. We have a lot of roads that are old state roads here.
Yeah. All right.
So they're anywhere from 50 to 100 feet wide, right away wise.
Getting a sidewalk from the train station to the ferry, you think is, forget it.
The way I could see that can happen is we'd have to run down the railroad track and get an easement from the state to go through the back of their, through their property.
I like that there's,
And I brought that up, and that was kind of like poo-pooed, figure out another way to do it, so.
Is there any way to turn that into a one-way street?
Nope, that's
So
a
that-
state road. That's two-way traffic, there's a ferry there, goes both ways.
But you know how they have the one-lane tunnels?
Well, like, yeah, but they
And-
don't,
and
but
just for a certain length of the road?
you'd
right
have
in
to go
front of a
through,
few of the
that's
homes?
all state,
Yeah.
they'd have to put traffic signals,
Yeah.
to have a signal at each end, it's gonna be $1 million.
I know, that's, I just
Yes.
wanted to put it
So
out
So I'm
there.
just saying,
So
you know,
you could answer
in
the
the state,
question.
anytime you do anything on the state, they want you to improve the road to make it, bring it up to standard,
Right.
not narrow it and do those kind of things.
That road's like 200 years old.
Yeah, that ferry's been around a couple hundred years.
Yep.
So,
Longer than
so again, we're talking about an issue. Where does this issue stand in regards to moving it forward? I know
Which issue?
you're
Which-
talking about connecting the town hall to the river, right, in the study. So
Yep.
two of the things in the POCD, one says the town council should create a bicycle committee. Another one is that we should have a sustainability task force. So, working on the sustainability task force. And I know that Weathersfield worked for years, right? Peter Gillespie, every month they worked for a number, I would say maybe 2 years, to develop a comprehensive town-wide bicycle and walking plan. So we could talk about this here. I appreciate the information. But my question to you is, where is that group of people that are moving this forward? Is it just staff?
Well,
I mean,
are we off sidewalks now?
no, I think I want to finish sidewalks first. I want to
Because
make
you're
sure
talking bike
that.
now.
Huh? Yeah, he went
No,
on bike.
I'm talking
but-
I'm talking about a comprehensive pedestrian and bicycle plan. I'm talking about a process when we come to these meetings and we start getting into the weeds, this is the only time he's gonna be able to come in, or I'm gonna be able to come in here and talk. I mean, I can call you on the phone or write you an email and you'll send it. But as I said, Weathersfield had, the model that Weathersfield had was they developed a group of stakeholders, and they met monthly, and Peter Gillespie, the town planner, led it, and the engineer was there, and all these other people, and they did assessments, they did surveys, and all these things. And you probably did a lot of these things already, but I feel like we're working in silos. So my question is about.
Again, right, I think for POCD, PIC was created to address the POCD in general, not just bike, walk, a lot of different things, right? People will bring those issues to PIC, and then PIC will bring it up to council if there is funding involved or if there is any approvals or this or that, right? If it's planning and zoning issue, then P&Z will take it up and then look at the regulation and amend and whatever, right? So that's the process. I don't know what Weathersfield had, but I think per our POCD, we have PIC. And now we are going to have this Sustainable Connecticut Task Force, right?
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
Is it the best thing to do is just to get through the agenda and at the end, just have a plan of action for the next meeting? I think that Ed is looking, what we're trying to do here is just say, okay, in October 5th, we want to do, can everybody do this homework and come to me like we did that Excel, like we did all that stuff? Is that the best way to do it instead of, Complete Street is like the overall goal on A, B, C, and D.
Yep.
Let's get through A, B, C, and D, and then say on the 5th, what are we gonna do with this? Are we giving it to somebody? We have to have it to the town
Before that,
before
it has to be
Well,
before that.
the idea.
So we have to go all the way back and get this thing done.
The idea is to have this on a town council agenda in October. So
They have two?
they meet twice in October, first and third Monday of the month.
So would it be fair to say
even
that?
if we
that'd be
do
like
this
9
on October 5th, finalize this
17th.
October 5th, we have time to get to the council.
So how about we make that as our
17th.
goal for our next meeting, is basically, everybody take this home as homework, because it's the first time we're seeing it.
Yep.
And October 5th, we're
Right.
gonna say, this goes to the council on X,
Yep.
whatever it is.
So that's one, but I think there is already study underway, so I wanted to see what the schedule and all that for that study is, so that we know when that because that was discussed at the last meeting.
Yes,
So I want to
exactly.
focus that on and continue talking about that, so that we can close that loop on that particular issue.
So to finish off, we don't have a definitive timeline. I mean, they were still working on the survey as of last week. You have to bring that in, reduce your notes, plot it, and then the real work comes up. I mean, they've been surveying for weeks now.
This is Gloucester Avenue.
Yeah.
This is Glasbury Avenue, so we're not gonna see anything until late fall, probably next year.
So can we put that on a schedule? I mean, I know
How about just
when
an
when
update,
you
every
have,
meeting we have an update.
Yeah, I'll just
keep on
give you an
updating.
update of where we're at.
but when you had the contract with them, right, to do this survey,
Mhm.
I mean, I don't think they will just keep on going and going and going. There
No.
has to be
Yeah,
a
well, there's,
timeframe.
yeah, I mean, they have to get the data, which
Yep.
they've been doing.
Mhm.
And then they have to, like I said, bring it in, put it on their CAD, and then figure it, do cross sections and all that,
Yep.
figure out where the right of way is, can we do it? So it's gonna be a little bit of time. I mean, they have a finite amount of money. They already came back saying, hey, we can't, I said, my checkbook is closed.
No, and
So-
that's the reason, right? So you hire somebody and say, I want ABC done,
Yep.
and this is the time you have,
Yep.
and give me the deliverables,
Yeah.
right? Because if they keep on going and going and going,
No, they're not
at
gonna
one
keep going
point they'll
long,
come and
because
say,
I have a
I'm running
finite
out of
amount of
money.
money, and that's it, so.
So, to your point, this is why, I mean, I want to put at least this task, because that's happening on a schedule, so, and get it done, so that when AIM starts, when they do their project, and when, we
Come
want
down.
to show some action, right? Connection, as you were saying, we want to show something,
I
and
wasn't
something's
saying it, the
happening.
mayor said it.
Right, so I think let's put that on short leash and say, let's, we can't go next year. I mean,
Yeah.
that's unacceptable, you know?
One of the things that we also spoke about, in addition to Glastonbury, was like you had a hot punch list for sidewalks, like say, oh, you know.
We do.
So.
We're working on some.
Yeah, so maybe just give us an update, hey, you know, we have a plan, X, Y, Z is gonna be done, you know, in the first quarter of '23, or whatever it is. I think showing progress in complete streets it's more than sidewalks, but showing that we actually talked about this stuff at the last meeting.
Yeah.
And like you said, close the loop keep the loop going, keep the conversation going about it. It's always good to take something from the bottom and put it to the top, so we keep on talking about it. And plus, I don't know if it happens at any other meeting, but in planning and zoning, we have to have a PIC report.
Yes.
We have to have something to say at the PIC report. We can't just say, oh, we just talked. No, we have to, you know.
No, you have to show some progress.
We say no report.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Well,
it.
I mean,
No
ultimately,
report.
but
That's what I want,
it's
a
nice
council
to
meeting.
say, you know, we talked about
Right.
G. Berry Avenue, we talked about the hot list of, we talked about complete streets, we talked about sustainability. It's nice to have like a nice little punch list, so people who don't watch this meeting or listen to it, watch a different meeting,
Right.
and it has some meat.
Right, and yeah, so I think maybe I'll work with Kim and coming up with items and having some schedule to it so that we can get things
Plus an
done.
update, I mean, talking about an update on these things doesn't require a lot of time.
Right,
We don't need to talk a lot on an update for the BL companies at the next meeting.
Right.
That should be a sentence or
Yeah,
two.
no
We
update,
don't really
or,
need
you
to,
know, we got this. or-
yeah, you know.
Well, I just have a quick question. If you have that hot punch list, is that what would then, like, if you say, okay, you've been working on this thing when you have these engineers doing blah, 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 and then they give you a report. When you're ready to do it, and you know the neighborhood you're doing it in, this task force then could you know, reach out to that community and say, this is what's gonna happen, and all that. Is that outreach?
If you like,
I think there's a formal process when it comes to announcing.
because you have to announce and all that.
Yeah,
I think there has to be a formal process
Yeah.
done by the
Does that go to the households that in that area that?
Oh, we
they're
let
going
people
in?
know
Yeah.
we're putting sidewalks, absolutely.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
And that's where you get the feedback?
No, well, no,
When
they can
want it.
complain all they want, but there's not much they can do. That mechanism has been removed.
Oh, okay.
But like as I said, in the last 20 years, we've probably doubled the amount of sidewalk we have here.
Well, I'm just saying
It's
there
not
might
like
be
we
a
haven't
way
done anything.
for people who, you only hear people who maybe didn't want it, but I think somehow if we can
Oh,
promote it,
people
like
want
the
it.
walkability,
Yeah.
you know.
A lot
we
of
can
people want it.
Make it positive,
I,
yeah.
I get both. Some people are happy and some are like, I don't want it.
Yeah.
But we're gonna be doing Elm Street, and give you an idea. I mean, it takes time. Elm Street, we applied for a grant and started this process 3 years ago. We had the survey in the can last year. We still don't have the plans ready just because of our time constraints, or you know, we have to go through the state and back and forth. We hope to be building those this year. We'd be lucky if they're going next year.
Yeah, I guess I was just wondering how that translates when you accomplish what you're gonna do, how that translates to the task force, like, that sustainability, is it not connected?
So
in any
what
way?
happens is, I mean, you know, staff will determine, so I don't know if you've seen the map. They have a whole map
Mhm.
and they have
Right.
identified the priorities, because you don't want to put a sidewalk where there is no connectivity.
Right,
So
exactly.
what they do is they'll go through areas and identify, and, you know, based on the money they have, they'll say we're going to do this many linear feet of sidewalks on these areas.
Yeah,
And then they do whatever they have to do, notifying and all that.
so maybe this is something that the task force would do, not have to do anything.
Well,
No.
I think
Citizen
another thing,
task.
I think you're getting down to really basics is communication.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's making it too basic, this group talking to the other group. And that's why I'm personally glad that you folks are here as far as opening up the lines of communication. So, I'm gonna ask that Derek and Seema and Mary Beth and Alan put contact information here for email, at least for myself.
Yeah, don't
so
you
I
have
can
another
have
meeting
that.
in here at 7?
Did you guys have a meeting okay, someone told me there was a meeting at 7. So 7:30?
Okay, so we can have.
Okay.
But I think
But-
what you are saying is we'll keep that in mind, and if there is a way of communication, I think it's always good.
Yeah.
more information for general public is always good.
Yeah.
And if there is a conduit,
And
then-
that's sort of
then
what
use
the
that.
task force is
Yeah.
for, to sort of move it out a little bit beyond,
Okay.
you know.
Absorb some of the,
Yep.
not so pleasant comments. I mean, Derek was talking about a sustainable Rocky Hill social media page, so it could be like, hey, good news, Elm Street sidewalks slated for the spring.
and that's fine, I mean, I think
Yeah.
we can give it to them and they can
Yeah.
publish it and, you know.
Goes on our webpage too,
Yeah.
if we're gonna
Yeah.
do it, and we
Yeah.
go to the people affected and we tell them we're gonna do it,
Yep.
so.
But if it's
But you're right, communication
I just-
in a nutshell, that's what it is.
If it's sustainable Rocky Hill.
But that's everywhere.
Social media, it's not gonna be just like, random thoughts, there'll be,
Official,
formal statements
official
that are
statements,
supported
not
by the
just
town.
rumor, you know.
So going back to, I think bikeways we discussed last time about the
So-
constraints,
No,
right?
So let me say, there's a couple major publications that everybody seems to refer to, and I just kind of read through 4 of them in the last couple weeks and put together my own summary of 22 pages. So I was going to try and pare that down for you folks so you can get an idea. But the criteria for installing bikeways, it's just, I just can't say throw them up. You have to consider the traffic volume, the speed, the posted speed, because there's spots where they don't recommend these things, or they recommend different kind of things, the lane widths, what you can do, what you can't do. So I'm working on that, like the sharrows you paint on the ground. There's supposed criteria where to paint it. Nobody follows it, except I think Plainville, I saw, every 250 feet. I only get $35,000 a year or so to do pavement markings, and that's only covering half the town. They cut me back in half. If I had to paint sharrows every 250 feet down just Old Main Street, that'd probably take $1,000. So it's a lot of money. So there goes painting a bike lane green, that's for sure. You talk about these, they all
So,
say.
I'm sorry, are you saying forget about it?
No, painting sharrows. We'll put the signs.
Sharrows are, in my.
Sharrow-
Yeah,
the
you're saying
sharrow-
forget about the sharrows,
Probably.
which is a
If-
stencil on the road.
Yeah, if I gotta do them
I
every
need
250
definition.
feet, it's very expensive. Then maybe we could break it up and put them,
500 feet.
or 1,000 feet.
1,000
I mean, I'm
feet.
trying to
A
find,
reminder, yeah.
you're trying to find better guidance. It's
So
not,
is your goal is your goal as a town-wide thing, or is your goal to say, I wanna touch this area of town and let's concentrate on bikeways in this area of town? Or are there hot spots that we can just say, maybe the $1,000 is worth it in this area?
well,
And then we can say next year, or this committee can say next year, okay, maybe this area we can do, rather than saying, oh, $35,000, oh, I gotta dump into the entire town. I mean, can we just say, let's focus on one road and say, can we do it here? And
So-
is that what this committee can do, or is that what this
Well,
document
let
can
me-
do?
So I
let me
remember
come back to
talking
you
about.
in a month from now.
Yeah, maybe
with
that's a good thing for him
What,
to.
the different kind of bikeways and the different kind of things.
Yeah.
I mean, just, you got bike boulevards, bike facility, bike lanes, shared lanes. You have all these different things.
Would it be a good thing
and
for
it-
this committee, because you understand it, you're the engineer and everything else, would a good thing to come out of your working document and say, for example, this would work here?
Yes, that's what I'm
And
trying to
then
get
we
to.
can say, oh, okay, let's bring it to the council.
I'm trying to get to that.
You know, like
Everybody's asking for Old Main Street, which is great, but it terminates on 99. Then where do you go?
Yeah.
That's not my road. I can't do anything out there. I can't go up 160, can't go down 160, can't go up and down 99, so it terminates.
Maybe that's a bad thing, maybe hey,
So
is Front
it-
Street a good thing?
So does that make sense?
Or whatever.
So how about Old Main Street to Riverview or Washington? You don't have to bring it out to,
It's still terminating on State Road.
Well, I would do it
So
from
you-
99
Yeah,
to Middletown Avenue.
I can, yes.
I would do that.
That's-
I mean, because,
So
all right,
you're kinda getting a
99 is
back and
death
forth.
defying, but you have
Yeah.
to take it, and then you take a right out to Old Main, and you put
Yeah.
your, I would also recommend Brook Street, which is a straight shot, so if we had them every 1,000 feet, and people tend to go fast on Brook Street,
Yep.
but the visibility's pretty good, so I think that'd be a good reminder.
That may or may not be one that they'll recommend them.
They don't recommend them?
Over a certain posted speed limit, they say no. So that's,
So you're saying.
and that's what I gotta find, that's what I'm
Can
looking
I
at.
suggest one thing? I mean, I think you. and-
Let me
and
come back.
I think
Let me
we
come
are-
back.
Yes.
This is very preliminary.
So let me throw these up. So you are aware of the bike lanes and all that in Rocky Hill. You know where people are using it the most, where most bike traffic is and things like that, right? Because you want to put bike signs and all that, where it's frequently used. You don't want to put somewhere where somebody's just using it once in a week, right? So is there a way where you come in and help him out and say, okay, hey, look, I have this town map. These are the different things that I think is mostly used and all that. Yeah, I think we had seen that before,
We
yes.
have.
You
Yeah,
had
we have
produced
that.
something.
Yeah, so what I'm
Like a
saying
loop.
is, he can take that, right, and say,
And
okay,
that's what
let
I'm
me
trying
look
to
at
get,
this,
I'm trying to get to that.
okay.
We're working on it, but it
Okay.
doesn't happen instantaneously.
I understand, so it looks like
so
you
I said I have
have,
22 pages of stuff that I reduced out of a binder this thick.
so it looks like
4
you,
bucks.
at the end of this exercise, we will have something, just like the sidewalks. We will have something for bikes.
Can we have an action item for next week? Now we're getting into this beyond the discussion, to come forward with 3 or 4 streets that would be recommended, a priority, they would fit the parameters. Can you just present that to us next?
For complete?
For
a
bike-
complete street?
Well, it's a
for bike
component of,
markings.
it's a component
That's what
of.
I'm saying, but
We're working
are
on
we?
the policy.
Yeah, okay.
We're gonna
But just-
provide an update with B&L Companies' connection to the river, what the status is,
Yep.
in any time frame if we can. The hot spots for sidewalks, and possibly a few streets.
And a
Next
few
group.
streets targeted as
Yeah.
possible,
Now-
as recommended.
But I was looking at signage though only, I'm not looking at Sharrow's, because I'm aware of the same thing.
Right.
We've
But-
had the discussion
but
already.
there's-
And the too few people that I've communicated with, I'm not a bicyclist, I walk.
Yeah, I
So-
used to,
so
but
in
I'm
truth-
afraid to
in
now.
truth, Paul D'Attilio and Louis Marrera,
Yep.
they
I think they were here
did,
before,
they constructed the bikeway.
Yep.
I just put it on
Yeah.
digital.
Yep.
So I guess my question to you now, have you made a decision? Ray said that we were gonna put up share the road, or are we gonna put,
All right.
give 3
Said
feet?
that. He
No,
said
I,
that before.
so let me
Or
say
the
something.
other one, there's
I'm not
3 of them.
I'm not trying to step on
Right.
toes.
I know.
I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes, but somebody says, do it. I'm not just gonna do it if it's a liability kind of thing. I found out it's not a liability, but now we have to follow the guidance of where they go. You gotta know where they have to go.
Of course, yeah.
So,
Well,
just
using
like
that
somebody
guidance,
says, we
bring
used
us
to
3 or
have
4
a manager
streets.
here that said, put up a stop sign for speed control. Illegal. They did it because that's previous administrations.
But my question was.
Yeah,
there's
I'm not
3
gonna do that.
There's 3 signs. What I asked was, do you have an opinion yet on which of those 3 signs to use? We have.
It's gotta
share-
be-
Share,
yeah.
let me say them all so everybody can hear it. You have share the road, which is not, from my understanding, a good sign. Yes.
That's all we can put. More
May
than-
use full lane, and then the third one was, give 3 feet.
I did not see one for that in any of these reports,
I
so.
can send it to you, but, so you're saying that that's all we can put there?
Yep.
So, could you show Alan? Because
Why
he's a
is-
real
Why
expert.
is that all?
The white one.
One of those two.
Yeah, Shadow Road is, I think.
Yeah,
3
and
feet.
a lot of these things, when you
Allow
read them,
3
they don't
feet.
even recommend signs because sign pollution and people look at them once and they ignore them.
But why are those the only acceptable ones?
That's,
According
well,
to
first of
what?
all, you have to follow the manual of uniform traffic control devices. And then
Okay, is
depending
that
on the.
federal,
Yep,
state, what?
FHWA. And then depending on the type of facility it is, you can use signs, different kind of signs.
Facility, it's a road, it's
This-
not a facility.
Well, there's a bike boulevard, there's a bike, you see they call it bicycle facility right here.
Oh, okay, so they call
General
the
terms
roads
denoting
facilities.
improvements and provisions to accommodate or encourage bicycling, including parking, storage facilities, all shared roadways not specifically
Okay.
designed for bicycle
Okay.
use. And then they have different type of
I think,
bike
I
facilities
think
with different criteria.
what we have to do is, he's town staff, he's an engineer, he's doing this homework. We have given information that you want this roadways.
Mhm.
Let him finish his exercise. He can't just pick 3 roads and say, can I put this, can I put, he has to look at the whole thing And he will apply those standards, whatever they might be, 5, 10, 20, whatever, to everybody. And then he will probably come up with
Yeah.
2 or 3 priorities that jumps up.
I brought this to.
Yeah.
That's where I was going with the
Right.
priorities.
Yes.
See, I brought this
There
to
you
show
go.
you.
There it
So
is.
this is the town of Simsbury.
Yep.
Town of Simsbury has a pedestrian and bike master plan. First things first, in anything I read, you have to have a committee. You talk about the committee. We don't have a committee. This committee has, and the committee is just not, the committee is the public works director, the engineers, the police. Everybody's forgetting the police.
Yeah.
And then they also had people from all their different bike ped, greenways, all kinds of homeowners associations that it went by, businesses that it might have gone by, all kinds of different people.
You're gonna be
And so
excited
to-
reading that stuff.
So
I'm
to-
getting
Can you see
excited
the
now.
Can you see the bottom there, Ed? Can you see the bottom there?
What's this? I know I can't.
It says Fitzgerald and Halliday. This was done
Professionally
by
done.
professionally
Yeah.
done. It
That
wasn't
must have
done in
cost as
house.
much as this
It was
cost.
probably a $50,000 report that probably
Yeah.
took
Yeah.
a year to do.
Yep.
But they were serious about it.
Correct,
They were very
but-
serious
but
about it.
it-
That's Simsbury, you said?
Simsbury. I have
Yeah.
to talk to the town engineer over there, but I bet you it took a year to do this. It doesn't.
At least.
Yeah, it's
At least
not
on
as
that.
simple as just putting up signs. Is what
Nobody's
I'm getting
saying,
at.
nobody, I'm not, please,
So,
I don't want to
I just-
think
I
that
just
I
want-
think it's simple.
Yeah, I'm
I don't
just-
think it's simple at all.
I just want to say that, you know, if we're gonna do it, let's do it right.
Yeah.
Let's take the
Absolutely.
time.
We gotta take
So-
the time is the
Yeah.
key word. We gotta start somewhere.
Okay.
So we're starting.
May-
So I think this is going to be like a long-term.
Let's get complete
It
streets
is.
done.
It's
We-
a
we've been-
project.
Well, you say take time, I agree. How many years have we been talking about this? How many PIC meetings have we been talking about this? At a quarterly interval, I would say 2 years. How much time is give it time?
So-
That's-
So I mean, again, I think it's,
editorial.
there are a lot of factors that goes in. I'm not trying to take any sides here, but I think that there are a lot of things and for us, I mean, I know, you know, even at our work, right? I mean, people just want to get this done like yesterday, but there are a lot of other factors that go in. But forget about what happened I'll get that. What happened. Now what we want to do is let's put this on schedule. That's what I said in the beginning. Let's put it on schedule.
Yep.
I want to see for the Glastonbury Act, I want to see when Mylon or whoever, BL will finish that.
Yep.
You know, I can't see next year, right? So let's put it on, by end of this year, we should have something done so people can see the result. Same thing with this. Same thing with this. I'm not saying do it by end of this year, but I think you have this going and you will give us an update where you are.
Show
You will
progress.
combine both
Show
things.
progress.
Right, show progress. You will combine those things. Maybe next year, early, you know, first quarter, we come up with 3 streets or whatever for addressing these bikes. Okay?
I think,
We need
You
a
know,
plan.
I think I'm not, we're not hearing Steve. I
We
think
need
what,
this plan.
I think what you said was that was professionally done, and you think that cost $50,000,
At least.
roughly $50,000.
I would know,
I
yeah,
also
it's
heard
right.
you say that you don't think that could be done in-house. So what's our plan? What's our next step?
No,
Are
he
we
didn't
gonna-
say, he
we-
didn't say he cannot do it, right?
I don't think we can produce this type
Right.
of plan in-house.
Not to that level.
We can look at streets and all that,
Yeah.
but to this level,
So to that point,
comprehensive plan?
Ed has talked about the importance of a bicycle committee, which is outlined in the POCD. And Steve has said, like, in order for this to be done right, it needs to be a multi-party coalition, like with representatives of the town, like staff, and also members of the community. And I just want to point out there are you know, a number of people here who are very interested in helping to form that committee. You know, like, this is, Complete Streets impacts more than just bikers, it's pedestrians, it's people with disabilities, it's people who don't have a car. And so, like, if that is one way that, if we're talking about next steps, if the next step is, well, who is that team? Can we start talking about, like, forming that team together? Can we find candidates who
So
would
is that-
participate?
Is
is
that
there-
appointed by the
Well,
town council?
I think,
Is
I
that-
think what happens is when the Complete Streets policy goes to the council, that's the time to bring
That'll be
that
next
up.
month.
Yeah, and my reading of the POCD is that the candidates can be proposed by PIC to the town council. Town council proposes. So, like, let's do that. That could be homework as well.
So is there, because I don't remember right now what's in the POCD. Does that talk about bike committee?
Yes.
Is there a
Yeah, the
separate?
town,
Yes, there
town
is.
council, I think, appoints.
Okay.
them. Although, could be picked too, I'm not quite sure.
Because, again, I think one thing we have to remember is, once you start having 5, 6, 7, 8 committees. I don't know how effective that's going to be because you need volunteers. You can't
all
be on
same
5
people.
different committees.
I
You know,
I
and-
absolutely agree.
You want
And,
to-
and that's
so-
the thing, there are a
Right.
number of people who would love to volunteer for this sort of
I
stuff,
mean, this
because it
committee,
matters to them.
this
It
committee
matters
will
to the
eventually,
community.
we have to, I mean, I'm
Vic
thinking.
has to,
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm looking at what we're doing on our next agenda, and a lot of it's updating,
Yep.
and it won't be as intense a conversation, but we need to get into affordable housing.
yes.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
we need to get into other things, and I need to tap you, because Melissa Hicks is an awesome resource for the affordable housing,
Yep.
for some of the needs for the community, people with mental health issues, or cannot afford their rents and things like that, and we need to.
And let me tell you
Move on to
why,
some of those
why
other-
Kim is talking about affordable housing. That's a statute.
Mm-hmm.
That's coming down from Hartford, from legislature, that towns have to do certain things. And
we've
we have to
started.
do it within certain time frame.
Yeah.
These are policies that we are talking about. The other one is statute that comes down. And if we are non-compliant, it affects us. When people say, go and apply for money, they will look and say, did you do this?
No.
And if you didn't, then go back. So it has an impact. So I think that there are a lot of things that staff has to look at, and we as a P&G also have to look at, because if we don't have good affordable housing plan and all that, I mean, you already heard about 8-30G.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's just one. I mean, it will start popping up again everywhere. So people have to realize all those things as well, so.
But I think the complete streets policy, once we get that to the council,
Yep.
that can be part of that presentation.
Yes.
That-
A plan, you mean? Or
The
Steve is
complete
talking
streets,
about
the complete
a-
streets
a-
policy.
A
and then the
comprehensive
bike-
plan.
Yeah, pedestrian, a ped
Yeah.
bike plan.
I'd love to tell the town council to invest some money in a comprehensive walking and biking plan, so.
And that, let me just throw my 2 cents in there, because everything we just talked about this evening in the last hour and 17 minutes came full circle. Because
it
we
did.
started talking about under the underpass.
Yes,
And
we
I
did.
can tell you that the vast majority of the homeless population where they're residing in our town right now, and those who have a bed to reside in, is what I'm referring to, is right around that underpass area in those few motels in the Town Line Road area,
It's all
right?
interlinked.
So, and I can tell you, because as a resident and an employee who cannot walk to work down Old Main Street because of the lack of sidewalks, I was pretty vested in all of the topics, but it comes full circle, because some of these areas we're talking about, with the need for housing residents, the need for the sidewalks and the bike trails, along with a safe passage and all of those other things, are all full circle and intertwined. So they're not separate issues necessarily, they're all
connected.
one.
Yes.
So I think, in my 2 cents, in being productive, I think it's important what we're talking about, but I think breaking it down to the subcommittees, potentially, instead of trying to tackle all of them at each meeting, potentially breaking down 1 or 2 to prioritize and talk about, whether that be subcommittees, whether that be whatnot, and sticking to those, not to say we can't update on the other ones that aren't on the agenda, but I feel like we have good intentions coming at this, but we sidetrack and get very passionate about one certain thing and have yet to hit some of the other ones, and it's not a competition as to what's more important, but they're all interlinked. They all have to be addressed in a little bit more of a productive manner, right? So we understand the town side and the resident side. That's just my 2 cents.
No, and I think it's a good point, and as I said before, like, some of them are statutory.
Yes,
So that takes precedent,
yes.
you know, over the policy. So right there, affordable housing, those other ones, you know, they are important because we have to meet certain timeline.
Right.
I mean, you know, I think we were planning to have somebody, no, our consultant, we already have consultant who is working in affordable housing,
Right.
right? Because we have, I mean, what was it, June? I mean, we passed the deadline, right, to meet.
Yep.
So, but OPM knows that we are working on, so they give us extensions and stuff, and, you know, so we have to get that done. So once that is done, then we can focus on something else, you know. But again, I think these are all intertwined, we can't talk individually, however, within those, there are priorities. right?
So is it productive, just based on how we do things in town meetings, to designate by volunteer or voluntold, whichever?
I never heard of that.
We say that every day in the town. We're voluntold every day.
Yeah.
To maybe break down this list that Kim, you are putting together, is it an effective way to say 2 or 3 of us each sort of focus on, not to say everybody shouldn't research it, but also are we walking away because the meeting adjourns in 10 minutes? So
Yeah.
I know you're putting a list together.
Well, this is just for updates for next time.
That you-
And the priority I see for next time is
Affordable
we
housing,
need to
probably.
move the
Well, we need to
complete
finish
streets
this, yeah.
policy forward onto the town council.
Yes.
That's priority. Obviously, the staff and whatever, we can work with the bikeways and the signs and whatever, that's, you know, and the minor update on the BL, that's not a big deal. I mean, that can be done. Affordable housing, we need to start.
Yeah.
So can it go on then the 5th agenda? Just put it on the agenda.
Yeah,
Or
yeah, I mean, all these
general
other things are.
overview or
yeah,
whatever it is,
yeah.
to get us educated.
To get us started
To get
on
us
that
started in the process.
discussion.
So let's talk, I mean, you talked about different committees and assigning people. I mean, from here, who can, I mean, if we say, you know, Derek and you are 2 team on bike, I mean, are you guys committed enough, you know, to come up with some things and, you know, spend time and all that, you know, because I think that's what you're trying to do, like assign people and say, okay, hey,
Well, not necessarily
focus
assign
on-
people, but maybe
or-
just the focus. We're all one committee,
Yeah.
but I feel like here we are again and coming back
Yeah.
again, having gotten through the agenda, right? It's still town staff that's gonna update us, which is wonderful, but now we got another 2 weeks. So in order to be prepared for next week,
yep,
do you know, I'm just trying to think of how I do things on my committees for my departments. And so if I'm can take on responsibility to get Kim and Dimple information on if the agenda is affordable housing and where we stand in Rocky Hill, I can be working on
I
that
think
while
that
Ed
would-
works.
yeah.
And I'm
probably
just
makes more
trying to
sense.
say to be
Yeah.
productive. That's just my 2 cents. I'm
You and
not
I can
suggesting
have
we're
that
not being
conversation.
productive, because I know that we're back at it, but I just feel like we've had.
And we shouldn't be overzealous in our agendas because we.
Yes.
Right,
I mean,
and we
this-
just-
One
this-
topic.
This was because we haven't had a meeting in so
Right.
long.
Yes,
Like,
Right.
that's
throw it
right.
all in.
yep.
Yeah.
I mean, if let's just pick
We
like,
should just have like 2 or 3 items,
you
so
know,
that's it. And
the
then-
next time can be
Yeah.
complete
Because
streets
the
and
conversation
affordable housing.
was
and
important,
done.
but I think it was important. I was sitting here listening to all of it going, this is all still related.
Yeah.
We're not through this. We're all coming back on the 5th for an update, but that's a lot of burden on 1 or 2 staff members. But for those of us that have now put in an hour and a half,
Yep.
to sit here, what can we be doing to be productive? Because what I keep hearing is,
Yeah.
where are we going and what's the agenda?
So,
And that's what I'm trying to.
On that end, I'd like to volunteer if it would be helpful to come up with a list of people who could participate in the bikeways / complete streets committee. I think they're 2 very interrelated groups. I could do some research and put forward a list of names for this to consider.
I think you just call it Complete Streets Committee if you're gonna do anything.
Complete
Would-
Streets Committee is.
Would you say that,
that fits.
would you say that it makes sense to follow someone like the town of Simsbury and say, this is what we need to get a
Yeah,
plan
I'd love to
going?
use that as a
And then
model.
just say,
I'm-
come with that to the part of the complete
This is-
street plan and say, this is what we envision. Town council, do you agree with us?
Yep.
And let them say poo-poo it or say, okay, no, I think you need a head of,
Yeah.
clown cars or whatever it is. But I mean, it's,
I mean,
like, we're just an advisory committee. We
Right.
don't have the power to say, this is what we want. We do, but then they have to approve it.
Right.
now one, I
So
remember
can we
we
make it part
had,
of this?
we had a consultant who was like a grants writer, right? Do we, I don't know whether she is part of,
Oh, that's right, she came to a meeting.
she came to one of,
Melissa Keck?
she came to one group,
Oh.
right? So that's,
That's
I
something we
think-
have to go through Ray.
right.
Yep.
So I think she is an important component here, specifically for this type of studies. State does have grants and stuff like that, you know, for these type of studies that are, you know,
But
community
she
can
did say,
undertake.
she did say, you want something, you have to have something that she can
Yes.
Yes.
do.
Yes.
So again, we're putting the cart before the horse, but we gotta get this done.
And I think maybe what we do is next time we can have her so she can just advise us as well and say, yeah, let's get this done. Put it up, get it approved, adopted by council and it's, you know.
We don't
What
need
is the
her
name
to
of this
come for
person?
that. We don't need her to be here for that.
Yeah.
We just read it, any tweaks you want, let us know, Steve and myself.
Yep.
Let us know.
Yeah, you guys take it home and read it.
Yes,
No, so we'll do that. What
Yes.
I'm talking about is like, now if we want to go to that point.
I think he's
we'll
talking
need
about
money.
future meeting, future
Future
meeting.
meeting.
That's down the
Not the
road.
October 5th
Not
meeting.
this one,
Not the
no.
October
But-
5th meeting.
okay. I
Future
don't,
meeting.
right now,
Yep.
let's get to October.
Yep.
So,
And I already put you down.
can we have a consensus that October 5th meeting is going
Yes.
to be complete streets and affordable
So,
housing?
yes,
Okay.
two things. Now, but you need comments on this, right?
Yes, I need
Yeah,
comments on
so you need comments by when?
I'd say a week before,
So tell us.
It's October
Last-
1.
I would say
I
before
would
that,
say,
before that.
yeah.
And if you'd
People are
like to
preaching
look
to
The
Yeah.
at
Monday before.
the town of Madison,
Which is, we're on,
What is it, October what?
it's October 5th, so it would be.
26th.
How about the
Right.
23rd?
Friday
September
the
23rd, Friday, September 23rd.
Okay.
All
It's like
comments
2
have to
weeks.
be in to Kim by
All right.
Friday, September
September
23rd.
23rd, all the
That's
comments to
awesome.
Kim on this document.
Is that the right thing to
That's
Kim
fine,
or
that's
to you,
fine.
Steve?
Either one.
Doesn't
Either
matter?
one.
is
Okay.
fine.
Kim or Steve.
Like-
And if you want to go to the town of Madison's website, theirs is apparently an award-winning
When it
complete
was
street
done.
policy when it was done, and it's on their website, and we based a lot of this kind of on their stuff. So you can take a look at what the policy looks like.
So that's complete streets. Now, just so we can touch base before we leave here quickly, affordable housing, is it just like a little small education for this committee at the next meeting? Because
I think so.
it's,
Probably,
I think
yes.
it's
I
just,
think
a-
it
I
should
think
be.
it's just a 100,000
It's a-
foot view
yes,
of
yes.
affordable
Yep,
housing
yep.
and
Yep.
not get
Yep.
into the weeds because
we
we
can't.
have
Because
so
we
many
might
things to
be
get in the
too
weeds.
many
And
stuff, yeah.
So
But it-
is that a
it
fair
should-
plan?
Well, it
Yes.
should be based on the POCD.
Yeah.
I think that if Melissa's gonna do it, she'll go into the, the affordable housing section. Derek, if he were to come, he'd be looking at sustainable CD, affordable housing, and I think between the two, I'm sure they do a great job. in
So is that
educating
fair
us.
for the next agenda?
Coming from POCD and the sustainable CT.
There you go.
Yeah.
And then we have our next meeting.
Were you involved with Glenn's survey and all that, and his findings on affordable housing?
Yeah, we spoke.
Okay.
Yes, we
Okay.
spoke.
All right. 'Cause that's important, I think that's,
I'm more Rocky Hill specific, but,
Yes,
but
yes.
being involved with all the other social services
Yep,
throughout
yep.
the state and understanding and some of legislation that I work on
Okay.
for the state as far as special needs and affordable housing and
Okay.
things that are all intertwined.
All right.
Can I just have a quick question about the agenda? So section, number 3, the update on sustainable, do you have next steps on that you're gonna put in the notes? I can't remember what the next steps were on that.
Well, I don't know what's going on
Well, it
with
was-
the task force, that's from the council.
Yeah, I
With
think
the
Ray provided
resolution, so-
an update saying the town council
Yeah.
is gonna formalize.
So
Okay,
we'll
so-
get something from them for next time. Okay. All I know is I watched the meeting on television and I saw it.
Well, I knew it was on the agenda, so I just wanted to
Yep.
see.
Yep.
if it was the next step.
All right, so, I think we
And I
have,
got contact information. I don't have your contact. Are you folks also with sustainable?
So we're here from the Commission on Inclusion and Innovation.
Okay.
oh,
Rocky
okay.
Hill-
Is
Rocky
that
Hill
what's?
Commission.
That's another-
Is
that's
that what's
another
happening
committee that
next,
committee
or
formed.
at the next meeting? or is
I
that
invited
part-
them because they have an interest in
Awesome.
street.
Yeah, and then I just have personal interest as a citizen in
Okay,
a lot of the
could I
topics.
have your email addresses and your contact?
Be happy.
If you care to share it.
I'd be happy to share.
Okay.
I'd be happy. Although-
All right,
Yeah, I think there's
Good.
two, yeah.
All right, so we are moving on to 5A membership suggestions. I think we talked about that, right? Next meeting, October 5th.
Yep.
Motion to adjourn.
Can I have a second?
Thank you all for
Aye.
coming. This was a good
All in
meeting.
favor?